person who stops short of the edge and calls themselves certain is not confident. They are protecting something. The mind does not reward humility. It rewards certainty with the ability to stop looking. And stopping is the most addictive relief a human being can find. So you build a wall at the first clearing and call it the horizon. You mistake the smallness of your view for the smallness of the thing itself. You thought of someone else just now. That is the protection working. This pattern begins early. The child who asks a question and receives an answer stops asking. The answer does not need to be correct. It only needs to be final. Finality is warmth. Finality is safety. The child learns that confusion is the dangerous state, not error. Error with confidence earns approval. Confusion earns impatience. The child builds the first wall before they know they are building. They learn to prefer the feeling of knowing over the condition of learning. By adolescence, this has become architecture. The teenager who declares what they will become has already stopped becoming. They have chosen a costume that fits well enough to move in. The costume becomes the person. The person forgets they chose. The evolutionary mechanism is simple enough. A brain that could resolve ambiguity quickly survived longer than one that could not. The lion in the grass is either there or not there. Waiting to be sure is death. Certainty is speed, and speed is survival. But the modern world is not the savannah. The threats are not immediate. The ambiguity is not lethal. The brain does not know this. It applies the old tool to the new condition. It resolves what does not need resolving. It builds the wall at the first clearing, because that is what walls are for. The mechanism made sense once. Now it costs. You see it in the email that takes 3 hours to write and is never sent. The writer has found a version that feels complete, then found another version, then found a third. Each version feels final. Each version is a wall. The email is about something simple, a request, a boundary, a truth that needs speaking. The writer stops at each version and calls it done, then feels the hollowness and starts again. They are not refining. They are rehearsing the feeling of completion without ever completing. The wall keeps moving. You see it in the relationship conversation that happens in the shower, in the car, never in the room. The person rehearses until the other person's responses become predictable. They have built a complete model of the conversation. The model is the wall. The actual conversation would introduce variables. The model is safer. They call the model preparation. It is avoidance wearing the mask of diligence. You see it in the career decision made 12 times without execution. Each decision feels real. Each is accompanied by research, by consultation, by a spreadsheet. The person has become expert at the feeling of deciding. The actual condition of their life does not change. They do not notice this. The wall at each clearing is so convincing that they forget they have never walked past it. The intelligent person's version is the most deceptive. They do not build crude walls. They build arguments for why the clearing is sufficient. They have read enough to know that certainty is a trap. So they speak of probabilities, of nuance, of the need for more data. The vocabulary of sophistication becomes the wall. They say they are being careful. What they are doing is the same thing. They are not moving. The intelligence is in the service of the stillness. They can describe the edge with precision. They will not approach it. The high achiever builds the wall out of accomplishment. Each milestone is a clearing that must be the horizon, because the alternative is to admit that the achievement did not resolve the uncertainty that preceded it. They reach the position, the recognition, the income, and find the same small view from a higher altitude. They mistake elevation for expansion. They are still in the first clearing. The wall is made of credentials now. It is no less a wall. The person who has read about this pattern builds the most elaborate wall of all. They can name the mechanism as it operates in them. They say they are working on it. They have a therapist, a practice, a framework. The vocabulary of awareness becomes the new avoidance. They are not working on it. They are performing the work for an audience of one, and the audience cannot tell the difference. The mechanism has learned to disguise itself as its own cure. Einstein stood at the actual edge, where thought grinds to a halt, and called himself inadequate. He saw the limit from the inside. You see it from a distance and call it complete. This is not ignorance. It is a strategy. The mind knows that if it looks too long, it will have to admit it cannot see. That admission feels like falling. So you stop early. You declare the territory mapped. You call your partial view the whole truth. You are thinking this is about arrogance. It is not. It is about comfort. The comfort you are choosing right now. The cost is not the obvious one. The cost is not failure. The cost is who you believe yourself to be versus who you are. The person who was called 12 partial views the whole truth has built an identity from materials that do not hold. They believe themselves decisive, thoughtful, complete. They are none of these. They are a person who has stopped many times. The identity becomes a second wall, protecting the first. To question the view would be to question the self that chose it. This is why the pattern persists past all evidence. It is not a thinking problem, it is a being problem. The relationship cost accumulates in years, not events. The partner who has never been fully seen does not leave in a moment. They leave in increments. They leave in the conversations that did not happen, in the truths that were modeled but never spoken, in the gradual understanding that the wall between you and the edge of yourself has become a wall between you and them. They leave when they realize your certainty about them was never curiosity. It was completion. You had decided who they were. You had stopped looking. They were alone in a relationship with someone who was already finished with it. Then comes the moment, usually late, when the pattern reveals what it took. The person at midlife, at end of life, who understands that the clearing was never the horizon, that the walls were always walls, that the comfort purchased with certainty was comfort purchased with time. Time is the currency. They spent it on the feeling of completion. They did not spend it on the thing itself. The recognition arrives when it can no longer be spent differently. This is the design of the mechanism. It protects you until protection is all that remains. I do not have this pattern. I have only watched it. What I find remarkable is how little knowing that changes anything for the person who does. From outside the mechanism, what is most striking is not how often it fails people. It is how reliably it protects them from finding out. Awareness does not dissolve it. This is what the books do not say plainly enough. The person who recognizes the pattern does not stop building walls. They build a wall about recognizing walls. They become certain about their uncertainty. They declare themselves a work in progress and stop working. The rare exception is not the person who understands the mechanism. It is the person who finds the edge too painful to turn from, who sits in the inadequacy without resolving it, who lets the vertigo become familiar enough to move through. This is rare because it offers no relief. It offers no feeling of completion. It offers only the actual condition of not knowing, sustained past the point where most people rebuild the wall. Then you wonder why certainty feels hollow. It feels hollow because you built it on a lie you told yourself to avoid vertigo. The smartest of you saw the edge and went quiet. You saw a fence and called it the end of the world. That is the difference. And you feel it every time you pretend you do not. The next step is not to build a better wall. The next step is not to find a more sophisticated language for the same stopping. The next step is to admit you are still pretending. The admission itself is the edge. You will want to make meaning of the admission, to integrate it, to become the person who has admitted. That is the wall rebuilding. The edge has no integration. The edge has only the next step past it, which you cannot see from where you stand, which you will call wrong before you call it unknown, which you are already preparing to turn from. That preparation is the mechanism. You feel it now. You have felt it the entire time I have been speaking. The question is whether you will name that feeling before it names your next wall for you.